Start early, get your offers in writing, and consider what you're doing with your finances before you think about your mortgage renewal in 2025. That is the order of things that I would do if I was in a position where my mortgage renewal was coming up in 25 or 2026. Because let's face it, with the Bank of Canada's recent news and announcement of where rates are actually about to go, or they think they are, this is the time that you need to get your finances in order before everything turns into a wildfire and your finances completely blow up in your face. Now, let me give you some context. If you haven't watched one of my previous videos, renewals are coming up big time, 25, 26, 27, with most of them coming up in 2026. And I'm starting to get a lot of calls right now. For this video, I'm going to just speak to you directly as to what I would do if I would come up for renewal in 2026 and I had some concerns, because I've had a lot of people already reaching out, and I think there's some facts that I think you just need to hear. Let's talk about some of the biggest mistakes right now that people are making about the renewal. The first one is pretty obvious, and I know you're not even thinking about it, but you should be. You're not thinking about your renewal. You're waiting for a long time. I have had countless people reach out to me with 1 month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks left to go on their renewal, and they've done no preparation for their finances, which means that they're put in a position where they basically have to take whatever the bank has offered, which honestly sometimes isn't that bad, or they have to rush to try and get a approval done that they could have prepared better for, which doesn't work out as good for their finances. Causes stress, anxiety, pressure, and ends up being probably a bad decision in the big grand scheme of things. It's just $300,000, $500,000, $1 million mortgage decision. It's kind of a big deal. And so we recommend the first thing you do is get started early. If you have a 2026 mortgage renewal, it's never too early to start the conversation. The second big mistake that people make is that they don't understand the difference between a renewal and a refinance. Here's the deal. Your lender probably wants you back. And when they want you back, they should be aggressive. But here's the second thing. They're never going to offer their best offer up front, and that's not going to include the option to refinance your mortgage. So you need to know the two words and how they're different. A renewal is where the bank is retaining your mortgage and you're continuing on the same amortization with a higher interest rate and most likely a higher payment. A refinance is when you're changing something material about your mortgage, borrowing extra money. You're extending the amortization to reduce your monthly payments. Maybe you're adding a home equity line of credit, or changing the product type, or changing the lender. Any of those things are typically a refinance. Depending on which option you're going with, this has an impact on the interest rate and the monthly payment and how much money that you have available to yourself. And listen, some people won't qualify a renewal and some people won't qualify for a refinance, but you won't know if you don't get started early. A quick little hack: if you are doing a renewal, you don't have to do it with the same bank. You can actually switch lenders and keep that amortization schedule and move over. And if you're doing a refinance, even though interest rates could be a little bit higher, it could actually save you a significant amount of money, either in cash flow or in interest, if you do it right. And that is another reason you need to have those separate conversations. Now listen, if I was going to take the next step and I was renewing my mortgage today, the next thing I would do after I started early and I reached out to an expert who knew how to understand these things, and I looked at my financial picture, I would start looking into my overall 3 to 5 year plan. Am I selling my property? Am I looking to pick up any investments? Do I want to get into some tax saving strategies, or do I simply just want the lowest rate and I don't care where my payment's going to go? All of these different questions will impact you. In fact, if you're retiring, or you know someone else is retiring, are you upsizing? Are you in a position where something significant in your life is going to change, is going to happen? Think of this like a checklist of things for you to be thinking about when it comes to your mortgage renewal. Okay, so you've figured out the dates, you know what you're renewing or you're refinancing, you've talked to someone, you've looked at your checklist of different things that you need to be considering when you're making this big decision from a lifestyle perspective. Then we move forward to, how do we pick our options? Well, you're probably going to talk to a mortgage broker or a bank. If you're working with your bank, remember this: they might offer you a good interest rate, but there's not going to be much in the way of advice, and they typically speaking won't look at it from a structuring perspective when comparing against other lenders. You'll have no idea if other lenders have great offers unless you walk around and do it yourself, or maybe you work with a mortgage broker team like ours that will do that on your behalf and help you shortcut all the time. The reason you'd work with someone like us is really simple. You don't want to have to go figure it out your own, and you want someone to guide you through the process both during and after you get the mortgage in place. Now let's continue forward. So you've figured out where you're at, you've started the process, and you've spoken to someone. You need to make the biggest decision. And so then it is, when do you pull the trigger on your mortgage renewal. Simple. Rates right now are projected to go up over the course of the next 5 years. It's hard to say what's going to happen in the next 4 to 6 months, especially with this Trump tariff situation that's going on right now. So you do have the option with some lenders in refinancing early or refinancing to leave them and only paying out the interest instead of those massive prepayment penalties you could pay. So it could be worth the possibility of locking in for 4 months today, assessing the market, and seeing where we're at a month before the closing. And if the rates haven't gone up, we could push it out another 4 months from that time to make sure you're not paying any penalties. If they have gone up, do the cost comparison analysis, and sometimes you just pay the penalty, lock in the rate, and you're good to go. If you want to lock in a mortgage rate early, or you just genuinely want to have a phone call about where you stand today to understand if it makes sense to do anything in the future, we are setting up a 15-minute free consultation call to just set you up for the right stage for your mortgage renewal offers. And if that's something you're interested in, just click the link below. And if not, just subscribe, hit like on the video, and let me know if this information down below was helpful in you making the right decision. See you on the next one.